Welcome to Rise and Shine Astrology. If you're primarily a visual learner, someone who needs pictures and graphics to follow along, then you've come to the right place. Astrology can give us a sense of what's going on and can also provide some signposts along the way. In this video, I hope to convince you that we can use astrology to take a deeper dive into what makes our world tick. I hope you'll share your astrological insights along the way. Important astrological moments for events do exist. We can make use of outer planetary aspects to erect important charts. These are conjunctions or other major aspects of the outer planets, such as sextiles, squares, and oppositions. The slower moving planets are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Because their aspects happen over a longer period of time, they form the backdrop to many future moments. The advantage of charts using such longer periods of time is that they give us more perspective, a wider view of later events. It's like the difference between a pair of glasses and a telescope in some ways. Lunar and solar eclipses can be especially important if the place is in the path of the eclipse, which isn't always the case. Or perhaps they impact your birth chart in a major way. The eclipse may be making an important aspect to a national chart, or even a president or prime minister's chart. Their advantage is that they all have exact times for which you can erect a chart for anywhere. Seasonal ingresses are other important chart moments. These are the charts set for the moment of the winter and summer solstices and the spring and fall equinoxes. Their advantage is that they give a bigger picture of the whole season ahead, whether you're looking at it from your own personal perspective, the weather for that season, or other events that may unfold in your city or country. The ingress moments were considered especially important in ancient times, and many monuments were erected all over the world to mark the sun's passing over these points. New and full moon charts can be important to your personal life or for your area or country. Although they are shorter periods, they can have a major influence on the start of an event, such as a hurricane making landfall, a war beginning, or an election outcome. They also give more information against the background of the ingress chart for the season in which they occur. For instance, a new moon which promises to be very wet and stormy that occurs within the spring equinox chart gives you a better idea of when you could expect this to happen. If you're going camping, do you really want to pick a time that promises rain? Having said all that, today we'll be taking a look at the most important outer planetary conjunction that occurred in 2020 and that now creates the backdrop of all events for the next 20 years. This is the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in the very human sign of Aquarius. Later in the video, I'll be showing you a few charts to see where the Jupiter-Saturn influence will most directly impact in a particular place. What is a conjunction? As seen from Earth, when a conjunction happens, where we are, it seems as if they are either side by side or one large star in the sky. In this diagram, it is Jupiter and Saturn, the conjunction that occurred in 2020. These only happen about every 20 years. If you were lucky enough to be standing outside, looking up at the sky in December 2020, you would have noticed what seemed to be a really bright star. This was what we could see on Earth. The Jupiter-Saturn conjunction looked like one star. So what makes this special? Jupiter takes almost 12 years to complete one orbit of the Sun, meaning to go through all 12 signs. On the other hand, slower moving Saturn takes almost 30 years to complete one orbit of the Sun. This means they only meet up in the same place in the sky about once in 20 years. That's what astrologers through the centuries have called the Great Conjunction. Ancient astrologers took careful note of the Great Conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn. They were called the chronocrators, the markers of time, or the lords of time. Other astrologers have remarked that the conjunction is the seed moment, the herald of the new mini-era. These conjunctions have been recurring almost exclusively in Earth signs since the 1800s. In December 2020, the Great Conjunction occurred in 0 degrees of Aquarius. Hence, the start of a new era, where air is the dominant mode. They will keep repeating in air signs for about the next 200 years. This is the new tapestry, if you like, and all events will be stitched into it for the next 20 years as we go forward. Also, because they occurred at the ingress of Aquarius, Saturn's effect will actually last about 30 years, because Saturn takes almost 30 years to complete one revolution. So in many ways, we're looking at a time span from 2020 to 2050. Now we're in a new mini-era of Aquarius. Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions are major socioeconomic indicators telling us that we will expend our energy on in the next 10 years. When we say shifting away from earthly matters, we mean that the major emphasis over the last 100 years, when the conjunction appeared almost exclusively in earth signs, has been on building and growing the economy, on manufacturing, on creating infrastructure like roads, bridges, ports, and all the material goods and physical projects that we need to develop, maintain, and expand our country, our cities and states. These were all very important in creating the world we live in today. It's not that they don't matter anymore. It's telling us that our new focus will be on developing new ideas, new technologies, new forms of communication that enable mankind to communicate better. Let's focus for a moment on Aquarius, the water bearer. It is predominantly a human sign, and the welfare and future of humanity become key issues now. Aquarius is in a watery part of the sky, and it's all about waves, not just the oceans, lakes, and rivers, though that will be a part of it too. It's also about the air we breathe, airwaves, satellites, radio waves, space travel, microwaves. These are just some of the Aquarius connections. And as a human sign, it is about innovation, finding and using new approaches to science and technology. Sometimes highly experimental, but always looking for new solutions. We want innovation that will change and improve our lives, and that is now becoming the new focus. The other side of Aquarius, ruled by Saturn, is because it is a fixed sign. It tends to want to keep things as they are, wants proof and methods, resists change unless it serves a useful purpose. This is the rebellious and stubborn side of the fixed sign Aquarius. As I said, the Great Conjunction occurred in 0 degrees Aquarius, with both planets in Saturn's term, so Saturn has first crack at the conjunction, at least for about the first 5 or 6 years. Saturn wants order, rules, and regulations, structure, and infrastructure to make it happen. Proof. Saturn prefers keeping the status quo. No pie-in-the-sky ideas get past Saturn in Aquarius. Jupiter, ever the optimist, wants to move forward onto bigger and better things. And if those things are new and untried, heck, we'll give it a go. So we have to find ways to get these two slow movers, these two different sets of ideas and ideologies, to move in the same direction in the next 20 years. Okay, so modern astrologers now consider Uranus to be the ruler of Aquarius. Does this mean we throw Saturn out? Not at all. Uranus, since it was discovered, is associated with great inventions, innovations, and new ways to do things. It's also the great disruptor, the rebel, the anarchist, the one who wants to tear down all that Saturn has built and replace it with what exactly? So we could say that while Saturn is the ancient ruler of Aquarius, Uranus cannot be denied his part in pushing things forward by hook or by crook. Saturn and Uranus, mythology aside, are like two cranky old uncles who now live in the same house. As I promised at the start of the video, let's take a look at the exact moment of the Great Conjunction set for Washington D.C. The primary area of great change that these two will bring, since it's in the 10th house, are those laws and acts which affect government, the legal system, the country's status in the world, justice and immigration issues, since Jupiter rules the 9th house. This is where we will see great changes happen. The Great Conjunction squares the ascendant in conservative Taurus. This tells us there will be a great deal of resistance to all these changes. Taurus hates change, wants things to stay as they are. Taurus says, what's wrong with the way we do things? No. Conservatives will not be behind these changes. Note, Mercury is combust in the 9th, but trine the ascendant, where Mercury is the ruler of the 3rd of communication. Combustion usually means a situation you cannot see coming, or creates misunderstanding, or fails to clarify or solve something. When the headlights are on high beam, they can blind you to a situation that is happening around you. In this regard, I think the traditional news media, including the international media, will be under scrutiny for failing to supply accurate information, or perhaps withholding information. The wide trine with Uranus suggests new forms of media, including everything internet, as the source for better information gaining in popularity. Note that combust Mercury also rules the 2nd of money, the economy, so we can expect big swings in this regard. In addition, it rules the 6th of public health, the armed forces, the police, etc. So again, we can expect information regarding these as being incomplete or not fully accurate. Mars square Pluto is an interesting and worrisome aspect in this chart, since they are both in cardinal signs, meaning those wanting to act fast. Militant Mars in its rulership and term is strong but hidden in the 12th house. This suggests perhaps angry, secret, or hidden terrorist or militia groups operating in the shadows. The 12th house in which Mars in Aries is found is intercepted, meaning it isn't readily apparent who they are or what their plans are. The very tight square to Pluto gives the idea that the Mars group is perhaps seeking to overthrow or somehow bring down the government, the 10th house. It also suggests conspiracies, largely driven by the subversive group or groups signified by Mars. Unfortunately, those indicated by Pluto in the 10th of government are shadowy, powerful figures themselves, with perhaps autocratic intent, not apparent to us all at the time. Now, if we set the same Great Conjunction moment for London, UK, we see that the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction is in the 6th house and conjunct the descendant. This could mean a complete overhaul of the armed forces, civil service and police force, the healthcare system. Metaphorically, the sun has set on the existing infrastructure. The UK will probably make significant advances in scientific developments related to human and animal health, as well as possibly many new weapons systems and development of space-age technology for mainly military use. In any event, the long-term effect should be a strengthening of the military, police force, and healthcare. Because Jupiter-Saturn conjunct the 7th of enemies, it's not unreasonable to expect that the UK will be drawn into a war, or more than one war, or perhaps merely manufacturing and supplying weapons to others. The Mars square Pluto aspect is in the 10th and 6th. A strong Mars suggests again the strengthening of the military or military preparedness by the government. Mars in 10th can also mean a prime minister thrown out of power, or a succession of prime ministers who are undermined over time, again by the secretive nature of those represented by Pluto. Explosions and terrorist activities also come to mind with this difficult square. These charts show us that the Great Conjunction has different impacts depending on which place in the world you live. If you draw up the same chart for wherever you live and see where the impact will lie, you will have a greater idea of what's going to happen. The question becomes, what tapestry will we weave in the next 20 years? Will we work for the good of humanity now? In the next video, I'll be showing you the 20-year cycle we've just been through and how presidential elections were affected by it. Your feedback and comments are welcome, so please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.